and I think when I started exploring other watches, I got the whole joy back. Like I got a bit more excitement. I got
Hi everyone, as promised last week, welcome back to another episode of MyWatches podcast. This is episode number 27, and as promised as well, we have Nick here today, right, along with myself and Woody. Nick,
everyone
user tag right here, aka Cartier Watch Nerd,
watch nerd
Watch
Nick.
Nick, yes, Watch Nerd Nick. Right, so yeah, happy to have you on board, and we have a bunch of topics we want to talk about today. Right, but
Awesome.
first of all, wristwatch check. Guess first.
I have one that Woody probably has as well with the Black Bay 54.
Nice.
I love this watch. I wear it most days during the week. Awesome
Oh,
size, good under the radar.
is that your go-to now over the Explorer 36 or
I don't actually have the Explorer 36 anymore.
interesting?
Yes.
Interesting. We'll talk about that
So
more.
this is one of my, I wouldn't call it a beta, but one of my dailies. Easy to wear.
Fair enough. All right, Woody, over to you.
Well, since it's the weekend, I've not put this watch since the last podcast last weekend, and it's the matte one S, matte fidget
Awesome.
spinner on the wrist. That's what it is. And yes, I still have the Black Bay 54. I wore it earlier in the week as well.
Mhm.
Very nice. And I myself, I have the Rolex GMT Pepsi. Fortunately or unfortunately, wasn't discontinued after Watch and Wonders. So, yeah. All right. So jumping straight into it, right? I think we want to talk about one major hot topic right now, which is going on in everybody's mind: the
Mhm.
U.S. tariff, right, being done by Mr. Trump. Right. What are your thoughts about this? How do you think this would shape the future for watches? Do you think this cost would be then passed on to consumer, or the luxury brands would be kind enough to absorb these tariffs? Right. Yeah. Who wants to take it? Yeah.
I don't mind starting. I think there's two different camps. I think if you look at all the social media at the moment, I think a lot of people still don't really understand what the tariff is. Right now, they're seeing what's the number, 31% tariff in the US. But it doesn't mean your watches is going to go up by 31% price. You got to remember, it's the tariff on the cost of import. So that's one first thing that a lot of people are still getting confused about. How it's going to affect? I think it could have an effect, but what I look at, Rolex, all these other big brands, maybe not even Rolex. I look at Richemont. They've raised prices so much the last few years. Even GLC, look at the percentage that's gone up. And people still buy. They still release new watches every year. I think what we'll find will happen if the tariffs do come in and if it is a large effect, the people that could afford down here probably start getting a little bit priced out, but there's always going to be those next levels above. That's if they actually the price goes to the consumer.
Mm, fair enough.
Um,
Fair enough.
what about you guys? What are you thinking?
I think I actually don't expect, at least for the next few months or for the next 6 months or so, right? I think it would make sense for all brands to just play it cool and
Hmm.
absorb whatever. It's like you don't see a difference yet. It's a long term play that will play out. I also speculate that when the dust finally settles and they really go on a line by line look at what tariffs are supposed to be. This is one of those things that they're never going to bring manufacturing to the US anyway. Like Rolex is never going to build a new factory in the US, right? And so it becomes a case like, does it even make sense to do? And if the US consumer is the one that just gets less off, then that's the part of the world that gets affected. Because even the casing of most Swiss watches doesn't even touch the America at the moment. It stays in Europe, maybe goes to Asia, and then it comes back and it gets distributed around the world, right? So it I think logic will prevail at the end. But having said that, if tariffs do come in, it's an opportunity for brands to artificially just raise prices a bit more and say that it's because of the
Hmm.
tariffs. That's probably all there is to it. That's my point of view.
Yeah, I think you both cover the major points that I want to cover as well. But I just really hope Um, that it doesn't happen for the one reason is that if it really does happen and passed on to consumer, I don't want the watch space to be very elitist, right? I don't want the watch
Mhm.
space to then really becoming a very tough spot for somebody who joined in, right? Because for me, that's thinking back, like say 5 6 years ago when I first started my watch journey, right? Purchasing my first Omega Speedmaster. At that point, it's a really really huge price tag already, and I can't imagine 5 years later with all this happening, um, it becomes so unobtainable and so unaffordable. No one wants to come into the watch space, and eventually, what is left is just bunch of, you can say, people who can afford it and becoming a circle jerk over there, and I think that's going to be really really bad for the watch scene. Um, yeah, I'm really not looking forward to that if it does happen in that way, and I pray it really doesn't. Especially in the past 3 years, it's really gone to a direction where it's becoming a little bit elitist already, and I
Mhm.
don't want it to get worse from there. Yeah.
Do you know what I was thinking about the other day? Like, you know, Rolex. Rolex are so big and powerful. They control the retail price everywhere anyway. If Rolex said to their ADs or whoever's distributing their products in the US that they're not gonna take on any of the hit, that it's up to them, they're not going to say no, we're not going to sell Rolex, are they? So if
Hmm.
are they going to just they can't control the retail price, so they can't go all of a sudden and put extra margin on their consumer.
Hmm.
So they're just going to have to suck it up and
I'd want to be the AD in Canada and Mexico right now, really.
yeah, big time. But do you think tariffs, like obviously what Trump's doing, let's just talk watches as obviously it affects everything else at the moment.
Mm.
This people are just going to look at other ways to buy watches. They'll travel to, like you said,
Yeah,
Canada, to Mexico, go to Europe.
yeah.
They'll get watches sent to tax-free areas and get their friends to collect, and then someone comes and delivers it to them.
Yeah,
It's just going to create that black market, I guess, if you want to call it black market.
I agree. I think
And
I think it's the watch dealers and the small time dealers or even the online ones that operate out of the US. They're gonna feel the pinch the most out of all of this, really.
yep. But have you seen some of the independent brands? Like, they're already emailing their customers saying that it's their responsibility to pay any in-country tariff. So that's when it's going to affect. Like, does that mean the US market for some of these indie brands is going to obviously fall off?
Hmm.
But I did watch some YouTube channel. I can't remember the name of it. The way he was explaining the tariff. So if the bracelet's made in Asia, but the watch
Mm.
is made in Swiss, that it's not necessarily 31% either. You
Mm.
might have 31% for the bits that are made in Switzerland. You got 10% in Asia, etc. So I think, and another thing I think as well, like this is Trump's come in firing bang bang bang, but I think what will happen, there'll be negotiations. There's definitely gonna. He's just trying to, you know what he's like. He
Mm.
loves the theatrics, and right now everything's on him. And I still think that once the dust settles, it's not going to be as bad as what all of
Hmm.
the fear mongers are. Right now on social
Yeah.
media, everyone's just speculating. It's really hard to know what's going to happen.
Hmm.
Look at
Yeah.
Malaysia. Like we were going to have a luxury tax here. Like was it last year? Everyone was scared, trying to buy all their luxury goods. And what's happened? We're still, touch wood, still haven't heard about it. I
Yeah,
know.
let's keep it that way.
But
But yeah,
but what
yeah.
about? Do you think the US watches might start getting more popular? The Hamilton, or to be honest, I don't really know that many US watches, but there's quite a few out there. I wonder if they're going to notice any increase, or if you'll find that some of the Swiss brands might start contracting some of their manufacturing hubs.
Not sure. I think at the moment, what would happen, at least in the very, very short term, I can pretty much bet from like the past 2 weeks,
Mm,
any luxury products and so on will be at sky high record sales, right? People will be on fear purchasing them right now.
for
I can
sure.
bet you it's going to be sky high, and then probably taper down right now because of the pause of the 90 days, and then
Hmm.
right now we're back to square one. We'll see what happens in like
Yeah.
3 months later. Yeah, but at the
I think
moment it's just pure speculation. Yeah.
it'd be interesting to like come back and discuss this like after that 90 days and see what
Mhm.
happens.
Definitely, definitely. All right, I think enough for the US tariff for now. Yeah, I think Woody, it's a bit of a connectivity issue, but we'll just get back to him in a moment. So all eyes are on you right now, Nick. Just
Awesome.
want to get your thoughts
Hmm.
on the Watch and Wonders 2025, right? So Woody and I gave our thoughts, this fairly comprehensive one last week.
Hmm.
So give us one like highlight and one fail from your end. Yeah.
Okay. I had a few little highlights.
Mm-hmm.
The one watch that I was really impressed with was Grand Seiko's UFA.
Oh,
Man,
interesting.
that look, I'm not a big sort of Grand Seiko guy, and some of the reasons I never sort of looked at them was obviously the class, the bracelet, and the sizing of the case. Whereas this one was at 37 mil. The thickness is actually not too bad. I think it's what, just under 12 millimeter?
11, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So it's actually quite reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
The movement, that the technology in that is something else. Like 20 seconds deviation plus minus a year. You just don't see that. It's something special.
Mm-hmm.
But then what's really good is the clasp. I remember we had a Grand Seiko event last year, and they were very coy. Everyone was asking about the clasp, and they mentioned something, but they couldn't do it because there's too many patents out there, and they want to try to develop their own. And less than 6 months later, they're releasing a brand new clasp. So I think that one is something really good, and I think we'll see a lot more dial colors, a lot more variations now that that movement sort of launched. There's so much that they can do. I love the platinum one, but I think it's priced way too high. I think was it like 30,000 USD or something?
Mm-hmm.
39 even, I think it was. But I think for me, like if I was to buy one of the watches this year, I think I'd definitely look at the titanium UFA.
Interesting. Is there any part of the watch that you are like 99% there, but you wish they could have did a little bit more, and then that would really push you to the edge?
Okay, the bracelet doesn't taper. That's one
Okay,
thing.
2 mm taper, I think 20 to 80, I
Yeah,
believe.
it's
Yeah.
but it still looks like their old style bracelet, which I need to have a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have a look at the dial. Like I've seen some pictures of the titanium.
Mm-hmm.
Some pictures looks like lilac. Some pictures look a bit light blue. Then there's a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
silver. So I want to definitely check it out. It's one of the watches I'm really keen to see on the wrist.
Fair
But
enough.
really, the movement technology is what's really sort of doing it for me.
It's a really sick watch. I'm trying to get my hands on in person as well to see how it goes.
Yeah.
But the somebody we all know, has already pre-ordered it. The third person that's pre-ordered it in Malaysia. So regardless, if I can't get it in store, I'll definitely see it by that person,
Dang,
right? So,
I put my name down for it as well.
but no, but did you put it? Did you put the deposit down?
No, they didn't ask me for
Yeah.
deposit.
Yeah, so
Ah, okay.
if you put your deposit, you're guaranteed a piece. If you put your name down, you are just on the next waiting
Waiting
list
list.
after the
Yeah.
ones who put the deposit. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've known there's 3 person in Malaysia have already put in their deposit. Yeah.
Okay. So if one of us don't get it, at least we can see.
Yes, definitely, definitely, and we're all really, really looking forward to that as well. It's a shame that it's in June, which is like 2 more months,
Yeah, it's June.
but yeah, yeah, gonna be really interesting. That. All right, how
I,
about
I know you.
your film?
I know you
Sorry,
asked for
go.
one highlight, but I had another highlight as well.
Mhm.
I quite like the people are going to hate me, but the Cubitus 40 millimeter.
Okay.
But I'm just really impressed. I think we knew something smaller was going to come, but I just didn't know what it was going to be. I thought it might have been more of a feminine sort of
Mhm.
dial, and they might have gone smaller, but they kept it in that very sort of same sort of look. I think 40 mil. I haven't tried it. I've seen it on people's wrists. It looks really good. I just wish that it was in stainless steel as well. So being in precious metal, the price points are well completely high. 200 plus, isn't it?
330k
But
ringgit, I believe.
is it?
Yeah,
Okay, there you go.
yeah, yeah.
So a bit out of the ballpark.
Hmm. But yeah, I
Uh,
think that is something that is also pretty interesting. Especially, I think Nick and I were at the Cubitus event 2 3 weeks ago.
yeah, it's not long
I
ago.
think we were surprised that the 45, which sounds humongous, just where okay. I wouldn't say we're great. We're okay for a 45. Now the 40 actually works, right? And
I
it's
think so.
they call it a cubitus medium, so we expect a cubitus small in the future as well. That we're going to be the latest model. So yeah, let's see.
Hopefully no extra large. 50 mil.
Yeah.
No, no. James, what was the second question? Sorry, I interrupted
Oh
you.
yeah. After your highlights, what are the fail?
Okay. I am a Cartier fan, but the guichet with the asymmetric display, I don't, I think that was a real big fail. Like, personally,
Mhm.
I'm a traditionalist. I think the three models where it's the normal, very much to the same design as the 1928 original, perfect. The asymmetric display, I just can't work out why they went that design. It's very hard to read. It doesn't look obviously not symmetrical, but it just looks a bit strange, I feel. Um, there could have been so many different other sort of ways they could have done that to make it different, but I just feel that they had the three releases. Usually they always do the privé and they have a skeleton edition, something a bit special. I think they were just stuck with ideas and they just tried to do something different for the sake of being different. Whereas what I think they could have done, which would have looked cool, they've been using lacquer a lot lately. Why not make some lacquer sort of random display or make some special design? Or imagine seeing a skeleton guichet, sapphire case, or I don't know.
Fair
I
enough.
just think
Yeah.
that maybe what they should have done, rather than trying to be different for the sake of it, just really maybe just played with the three traditional 1928 sort of homage ones.
I
Um,
s- yeah,
and
but I mean, sorry to cut you off here. Right? I
that's
mean,
right.
and the as much as I hate it, and as much as I really think that it's lazy, uh, I have to say it's gonna sell though.
Hundred
People are just gonna buy it.
and
Yeah.
and it's the only one that's limited by number, limited of 200. The other one's a one shot. So if you're looking for an exclusive model that's different, you will go for that 200 piece.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I think
So
it's like nearly 300,000 ringgit. So it's not
wow.
cheap. You, and it's one big chunk of platinum. There's no sapphire, or very little sapphire on there, so it's not like there's a dial. So, but look, I think the guichet, the traditional ones, I think they look good. I still prefer the CPCP, but the asymmetric one just not for me. But James, they will sell it regardless. It's a model that obviously everyone's been asking for many years.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Like I
I
say,
think
I
oh, I was going to say the other miss for me though was I think I was a bit disappointed with Tudor.
hmm?
Like they've gone big.
Hmm.
Most like obviously the Pelagos is now
Hmm.
bigger size. The what's that? The Black Bay
63.
63,
Hmm.
41, 43 millimeter.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then the Black Bay 58 with the red dial. Yeah, it's nice. No,
The
just not for
burgundy.
me. Yeah.
And the Opaline Back Bay Pro, right? Yeah, the white Back Bay Pro, which is AKA the Explorer 2.
But
Yeah.
do you know what I was talking to someone recently?
Mm.
Imagine if they did that
Mhm.
same design, but in the Black Bay 58 GMT case, same movement, so it's a thinner.
The Coke Back Bay
Yep,
GM. Okay, okay, yeah.
because it's
Well,
quite a thick movement.
mhm. Yeah, I mean it's a strategic thing for Tudor, right? I mean they're just going to stagger their release.
Of
I'm
course.
pretty sure it's going to come one point, and the Metas movement has already been in their lineup
Yep.
since what 4 or 5 years ago with the Black Bay
Yeah.
Ceramic. They're just releasing it now to the other models, so it's like I'm just going to drag it out another 2 more years,
Yep.
release it in another Metas for another model as well. Like that. So from a business standpoint of it, I get it,
Yeah.
but yes, from a watch enthusiast point of view, it's like we want it now, right?
No.
All this thing is we know you can do it. We know you have the capability to do it. Why not give it to us, right? So I mean, I get where you're coming from, but Tudor, I guess it's in a way disappointed, but I also kind of think it's expected from them because it's always 1 year good and then 1 or 2 years bad and so on. I think next year you'll probably see a better lineup from Tudor. Everybody's been waiting for the alternate color of the Pelagos 39,
Correct.
and so on. And the another colors for the Blackberry 58 GMT as well, another different bezel. So
54 even.
yeah, I'm pretty sure orders will come. It's just for
But
Tudor
with
fans, you
Tudor
just
as
gotta be
well,
patient. Yeah.
they also do mid-year releases anyway, so who knows? Like,
Mm-hmm.
remember last year, like every few months there was something new coming out.
Yeah, the new FXDs and so on. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. I can see where you're coming from. But yeah, I mean, I just find it as just classic Tudor. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone says the same about Rolex. Like, to be honest, like this year, apart from the new Land Dweller, there wasn't anything really new, just a few different dial colors.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Land Dweller, I think that was something that's, again, it's copped a lot. Everyone's still a bit funny about the name, but when you break it down and look at the technology, it's actually quite cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they've released something brand new, they don't usually do it. And we've had, over in the last few years, you had the Sky Dweller, obviously now the Land Dweller. Before then, there wasn't too many new watches, new movements out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I think that people are excited because it's a brand new model, but brand new movement with a new escapement. So yeah, although one way to look at it, yes, they didn't have to do it. The other way to look at it as well is just they are recycling the Oyster Quartz case, bringing
Yep,
it back to tackle the integrated bracelet market, and then putting in a new escapement. You can look at it that way, but I'm choosing to look at it as a positive thing for the brand.
me too.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think you will, while the dial, a lot of people are saying they don't like the honeycomb sort of pattern, I think we'll see a lot of different dials over the next few years. It'll be like the next date just, I think.
Mhm. Definitely, definitely.
Mm.
But yeah, it's interesting. I haven't gotten my hands on it. I was at my AD last weekend. They haven't gotten a piece in yet for display,
Mhm.
so I'm still reserving my judgment until I see it in person because it seems to be getting a lot of good stuff coming from those who have seen it, especially how it wears. Right, I'm really looking forward to that, especially the 36.
Yeah.
It's apparently going to be this apparently wears incredibly well, so looking forward to that for sure. Yeah.
I would say if money was no object, I would actually pick the Land Dweller over the Vacheron 222. I
Oh,
think
okay.
I like the it's a bit more modern sort of design.
Mm,
It's quite thin as well.
mm, mhm.
I found the 222 was just a bit, even the dial was just a bit bland sort of thing.
But that's what they're going for, though. The Vacheron is going for a very pure vintage look. It's supposed to
It
look
is.
old. It's supposed to look subtle. It's supposed to it's sort of like a if you know you know kind of watch. So I
Mm.
kind of get it. But then again, there was just the argument that Woody and I had like last week, right? It's like, do you pay for a a watch that has very strong in history. Like the 222 exists before major integrated sports model
Mhm.
came in, right? I think it's just after the Royal Oak, if I'm not mistaken, before the Nautilus and so on. Or do you pay for something that is really good in the movement and so on, right? I think in the movement, in technology, accuracy and whatsoever, it trumps the 222.
Big time.
Yeah, but the 222 is ultimately one of the Holy Trinity, right? So, how do you value it and stuff like that? I guess it's individual
Mm.
preference, lah. Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
where are you
Fair
back?
enough.
Yes, I am, and I hope it's better now.
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. All right, since now you are back, we can actually move on to the other topic that we want to talk about, which is the state of our collection, right? So, just for the context of the audience, we all have been having conversation amongst each other about this very frequently on how do we see our current collection? How do we move? Thinking of moving on from this, as in moving on, as in what is the next steps? How do we progress from this, right? And it's a question or sort of that I think most of you guys, use watch collectors and watch enthusiasts, are currently facing as well, right? Especially
Mhm.
for those who have been collecting for several years, right? I think all of us have been collecting for at least 5, 6 years right now, so it's only natural to do that, right? Let me start off with myself, right? And maybe I give a little bit more context. Um, I think I've been building quite a bit of collection, especially during COVID. That's where you've been adding in several watches a year, especially when what's that? All the micro brands and so on. Those it's easily acquirable back then, which the prices are fairly low as well. Um, I built on to quite a sizable collection, both in quantity and monetary as well. Um, and I sort of like ask myself, it's like, where do I go from here, right? How do
Mhm.
I proceed further? Do I really wear all my watches, or do I just wear part of it? And should I sell those who I don't wear? But what happens to then the ones that I've actually gotten for sentimental value, or what if the ones uh, that I really like to look at it, but I don't practically wear it as often as I should. Should I be actually consolidating? Is a question I ask myself, and to be very frank, I don't have a answer. Right, I don't know what to do for it because you can call me greedy or whatever, and I would say this is also probably a first world problem, right? So for those who are wondering, it's like, oh, why are you complaining that you are having several collections and you don't know what to do with it? It is true, right? I gotta admit, it is very much a first world problem.
Mhm.
But this is a problem for watch enthusiasts, right? So sorry if you do feel offended in one way or another, but it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know what to do with it because at one point I think I should consolidate to get a bigger piece, but at the same time I'm also greedy and holding on to every piece that I had enjoyed at one point of my life. I wish I could be like WK, aka Chronopath, that's able
Mhm.
to easily cycle his collections and go from there. But unfortunately, I find it incredibly, incredibly difficult, and I'm quite stumped at the moment, and I'm just like taking a pause on thinking about it and just see how it goes in the next couple of months. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. How about you
Very,
guys? Mm,
like we've spoken before, James, like very similar to you.
mm,
I've taken a, last year was my big experimental year.
mm,
So I think the last time I was on your show, we were talking about Cartier, and I think
mm.
then was that, I think it was like 2 years, 3 years maybe.
Two, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was all in 100% Cartier.
Mm,
And there's a few, obviously a few little things here and there. And towards the end of 2023, start of 2024, I said to myself that I need to start looking beyond. And I started getting into a bit more researching a lot more of the sort of independent brands. I fell back in love with Rolex again and started really going back and learning more, experiencing different watches. I think I've got so many different wrist shots from all different sorts of watches on my phone. And do you know, I actually had a lot more fun. I got to a point with Cartier where I had all of the main, probably went too crazy. I had all of the main sort of shapes. I got some special pieces as well. Um, I got to a point where what was next, and I had a few bad experiences. Obviously, I think I've spoken. Obviously, I've noticed a lot of the quality, a few issues with some of the sort of custom pieces as well, and it sort of made me sort of realize that why am I just focusing on one brand when there's so many other watches out there, and there's so many other experiences I could be having. And I think when I started exploring other watches, I got the whole joy back. Like I got a bit more excitement. I went out to different events and trying on different brands and putting them on my wrist. And I think even at one stage when I was with Cartier, your brain starts focusing more on the smaller sizes, smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So much so that I thought like a 38 millimeter might be too big for me. Then after I started re-exploring, I got back into Rolex. I got back into wearing a sub. I got back into looking at 38 millimeter watches and more on the sporty bracelet style. So I completely changed last year.
mhm,
But then obviously last year I started, obviously James and I we spoke as well. Like I started to get to a point as well, like what is next? Like I've got the Rolex now, the Staples, I got a Moser Streamliner, so that's my independent sort of piece. Um, And then I sort of am in the same position as you, James. Like, what do I go for next? Do I keep going down the Rolex route? But to be honest, I've got probably most of the Rolex now that I would need. Like, what else is there? Do I look at consolidating more? I consolidated a lot last year. So I got rid of watches wasn't wearing. I got rid of all of the regular production Cartier that was just sitting there as well. Most the watches sit in the bank. Like I thought, what's the point of this? So I consolidated down to watches that I would wear a lot more. Whereas a lot of the Cartiers, I would never touch them. I would like didn't want to scratch them. I didn't want to. They're like museum pieces. And but yeah, now I'm like, what do I do? Do I consolidate more? Do I maybe look at quality over quantity? And then maybe sell a few and buy one nice piece. Do I look at micro brands and just start buying like watches and just start trying different things here and there? Um, like Woody, I've sort of started going down this rabbit hole of G-Shocks, which is completely different to what I would have normally done. And don't know, I've actually been having a lot of fun. Like G-Shocks, you can spend a couple, what is it, maybe 400, 500 ringgit up to maybe 1,000 or a bit more. Some of them is a little bit more, but I've had the thrill of the chase, like hunting them down, researching them, going on eBay, going on Chrono, finding Japanese limited editions. My wife looks at the collection and goes, "You've got all of the same watch." Obviously, she can't tell the differences. They're all like resin straps mostly, but I've had enjoyment from that just for the sake. Like I've started liking the whole collection thing again. It was similar to what it was like in the early days when we started collecting. You just wanted everything. But yeah, like you, James, I've taken a bit of a break on the like Swiss watch, like the bit more obviously expensive luxury watches for now. Obviously, yes, I'm still interested and still obviously looking at what is next, but I just don't know yet what that direction could be. Still love watches, still love researching them, still like looking at them. But I also, I think, I don't know if you guys are the same, over the last sort of 12, 18 months, watches have got more expensive. It's now a big more, it's a lot. You can't have everything. It's a bit of more of an investment. I'm having to maybe be more like one in, one out sort of mentality where possible. But also I've realized I don't need to own everything to enjoy. I was talking to someone as well. We're talking like art. You might love Picasso or you might love those, but you're never going to own them. But you can still appreciate them. You can still research. You can still learn about it. You can still
Yep.
go to a museum and have a look at this photo. And that's how am now with some watches. Like, yes, it'd be nice to own, but realistically, am I going to be able to go down and buy, I don't know, the brand new Patek tomorrow? So yeah, I just changed a little bit, and I don't know if that's because maybe it was so many watches for so long. Like all of us were just buying whatever we liked and what was feasible for us, and maybe it was watch overload. Or we're just getting older and a bit more wiser. But I'm sure if something comes out, I'm sure if I get a call and I'm getting allocated some watch, then I'm probably going to change. So
Right.
it,
So
it,
let me add on to this as well, right? Um, I think one of the things as well, like you mentioned, like one in, one out and stuff like that. That's something that I really am trying to do. But one of
yeah.
the things that's really holding me back is that the pieces that I'm looking to get are all, let's put it this way, not really liquid, right? And
Hmm.
not in terms of the in terms of market value as well, probably not the best as well. And I guess as watch enthusiasts tell you, is like buy what you like and so on, and try not to look at the resale value. But ultimately, I'm trying to also be a responsible adult, right? So there's two sides of me. Right? One is the watch enthusiast side of me, to just buy it and wear
Hmm.
it, enjoy it, photograph it. Then the other side of me is like, oh, but what if things change? What if there's emergency? What if I need money and so on, right? And this one part of it of why I absolutely love Rolex is that one, the watch is extremely doable and I can wear it, beat the shit out of it. I really wear all of my watches with no protective sticker and whatsoever. But I didn't know, I don't plan on it, but somehow in the back of my head, in that 2% chance that I need emergency funding, I know I could liquidate all of my watch within 24 hours, right? and get that fund to save my family or whatsoever reason, right? So that part of me makes it really, really hard to really move my Rolexes, right? And I'm fortunate enough to get all of them via retail, so I don't lose money on them as well. So there isn't really a urgency to sell it off if the market drop or whatsoever. But yeah, that's one of my biggest like holdbacks for me to really enjoy other pieces. Yeah.
Do you know what? Sorry, Woody. I was just going to say, like, I had Rolex before, got rid of them to get into Cartier. I don't think I'll sell my core Rolex pieces at all now because I've done a full 360. I was in them, out of them. I bought back the sub because I like the sub. It's a watch. So I'm in a position similar to you, James, where I don't have many that I would want to sell in and out anymore. And then you got to start making more smarter choices then on what the next watch is. How about you, Woody?
I
Sorry for
think it's
interrupting.
no, not at all. So I think I'll start off with a very contrarian point, right? Just to make it to position where the mind's operating. A friend of mine used to tell me this, and this was back in the day when I was in a different hobby altogether. When the buying stops, the interest stops too, right? So if you start looking at something and you have no more interest to buy, usually the enthusiasm dissipates as well. It's not to say that you've fallen out of love with the hobby at all, right? It's just that you stop looking, and as a result, stop not looking anymore, the enthusiasm drops as well. Now, I found a huge dip in enthusiasm over the past year anyway. I came to a point in time, my wife even says to friends who know me as a watch person, it's like, my husband's not into watches anymore. He just doesn't look at it anymore. Right? And I told her, it's more a case of, I'm in the same dilemma that you all have, right? Like, where do you go now, right? In many ways or forms, the part of being responsible is, in my mind, there's a certain cap that I will not breach. There's a price cap I will not breach, right? And I also don't want to be walking around on the street, wherever I am, right, with that amount of money on the wrist either. So it's more like, even if I like the art piece, like the analogy that you gave, I don't really need to own it. I don't feel comfortable doing that. So I've operated in a space where I'm comfortable having that on the wrist, like the idea of it. The collector mindset is happy. You tick some boxes in your head. It's a nice thing to go about. I think both of you will be able to relate to it. It's like if you've gone through a collection, you go like, which one do I not have, right? And you pick that one up. And that's the real danger about G-Shocks as well. It's a rabbit hole. So I really feel for you, Nick. I've been there. There are guardrails I've put that prevented me from going down that too deeply. If not, I would have gone way overboard, and by now, and in fact, I missed out on one. James knows this as well. I eyed one. I actually set instructions to buy one limited edition as well. It sold out in 2 minutes in Singapore, right? And I treated that as a sign that the universe is telling me, slow down, dude. But in any case, what some eagle-eyed viewers would also know is my collection has changed. Now, I'm known as a tiny wrist person. I still am. Now, don't get me wrong, but the last few pieces that I have, one is in my hand right now. It's a 42mm moon swatch, right? And the other one's on my wrist is also a 42mm watch. Now, it's not to say that I've lost the religion. I still believe that the best watches for me are still smaller watches. But there's certain watches, they're never going to get smaller. Unless it's the Grand Seiko that you spoke about, Nick, right? It's like suddenly all stars align and then it suddenly gets smaller. But most of the time, a design was designed that way. And if it started with a large size and it was meant to be a large size, that's where it's going to be, right? Now, it's whether I'm able to enjoy it for what it is at that point in time and make peace with it. So I find myself in a case where I actually have nowhere to go at the moment anyway already. The only mindset that I have is, and I've mentioned this in, I think, one podcast years ago, and I'm still holding firm to it. If someone were to put a gun to my head and said, you have to reduce all your collection now tomorrow, which 3 watches would you keep? And my answer still remains the same. I'll sell all of it. And I'll keep one watch that's not a Rolex, not an Omega, not anything, right? It's the watch I wore to my wedding, which no one will even recognize, right? And that's also because my wife partially funded that. And everything else can go. I'll buy the Apple Watch and be done with it, but everything else can go because if I go down that path, I might as well let everything go already. The joy is gone, right? But it's guardrails I've set for myself. So the only way to keep my enthusiasm going, and it's a bit irresponsible if you like to think about it, is I'm looking at the idea of an exit watch, and not so much a grail watch, but an exit watch. It's the one where I finally tell myself, okay, I'm willing to spend that money, willing to sell a lot of stuff to get that one, right? And it's
Hmm.
almost like I'll be happy growing old with that piece, and the rest can go already. It's just like I've done that part in my youth.
Wow.
Rest of it can go. I'll wear that one piece, So I keep that as part of the excitement of the hunt, and I don't allow that to be a new watch or a vintage watch per se. I just look across the spectrum till I find one that speaks to me at every single level. That's what, so to loop back to what I started earlier, right? When the buying stops, the enthusiasm stops. That's what's keeping me going. It's like constantly on the lookout for what have I not seen? Or what's this obscure version of the watch that I've not seen before, right? That I'm not willing to spend on now, but I'll put a tab on that. I'll come back to it later, see what spikes up in prices, whether a nice one shows up. That's the nice thing about vintage. If you don't find a nice piece, you don't have to buy it, right? You have to
Hmm.
look for it and really look for it. And if a new piece comes up that ticks all the boxes as well, that is really special and it's something that I can consider an exit, it's like I'm actually willing to let a lot of stuff go, and I'm happy to wear that for many years. See myself in a Swiss mountain somewhere, sipping coffee with grandkids running off somewhere. That's the image that I have in my head right now. Is that a watch that will do it for me? And that's what keeps my enthusiasm going.
I can't do it. I couldn't do it. Oh man,
Yeah.
I'd be so torn.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like an exit watch is a lie that we tell ourselves, right?
Yep.
It's like, oh, I'm done. I've gotten my grill. What's my next grill? So,
Or,
all
or,
right.
or
So
it's
no such thing.
or it's the excuse you tell your wife to get another watch, and then
This
before
is
you
it.
know
This
it,
is the one, right?
yeah,
No.
and then before
So
you know it, you're buying another one.
So you called me out on that one. So here's the thing, right? That's the lie I tell myself to keep myself enthusiastic. The truth of the matter
Okay.
is, I'm kind of happy where it is, and I'm also worried
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know where to go anymore. So it's this thing I tell myself to keep myself interested, to still look, right? But then I stop short of even considering a acquisition. It's like I'm always teetering at the edge, right? And going like, "Whoa, it sounds like it's fun to jump down," right? And then I pull myself back, and then I look at something else. So
Yeah.
that's where I am right now, really.
It's good to see that you've gone into more of the independent sort of stuff, though, Woody. Like you've got a mad one on your wrist.
Yeah, it's one thing that I've always wanted to scratch, and thanks to Max Brucer, it's actually made it possible because it's no longer. I don't have to get a legacy machine to get into the experience, right?
Hmm.
So it ticked the boxes. It's something that's mad enough. I even contemplated for a while whether to go into the Mat 2, and that's just my enthusiasm going. And I told myself, nah, you're not gonna really wear it. You wear one. You if you had multiple octopus-like hands, maybe, but you've only got two wrists and you're not a double wrister anyway. So, no, I'm happy to have it. It's fun. It's not
Do you know
doesn't
what I've
make
noticed?
any
Like
sense.
it's funny. Like I was very much in Cartier's smaller sort of watches as well, and I've
Yeah,
sort of now sized up a bit. And now we're seeing bigger watches on your wrist as well, Woody.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's about exploring different things, and
Yeah. I think when
I
you get your mind
yeah,
set on smaller, you
yeah,
start going smaller, and then
yeah.
I think your brain it just does this trick on you, and you put a 40 mil watch on, and all of a sudden it's like this giant. But then you spend more time with a 40 or a 42, and then it just becomes normal again.
Oh, I do that actually. So when I'm swapping between a 42 and a, let's say, a 36, right? I actually intentionally
Yeah.
on the interim day, right? I find the middle ground so I don't feel the shock so much, and it just
Okay.
transitions myself in and out. But I
Hmm.
have the luxury of doing that.
That's one of the reasons I got rid of the Explorer, James and Woody. I found that because I was wearing more like the subs, the GMTs, when I would go to the Explorer, and obviously it's 36, but obviously the taper of the bracelet makes it wear a bit smaller. I was like, whoa, this is like so teeny tiny. And I just found that I wasn't wearing it. I was wearing more like the sub or the GMTs, and I just can't keep everything.
Fair enough. But it is very interesting, especially for the viewers of our podcast, to see how things evolved, how things change. You both more so than me. My collection hasn't really changed. I don't. I think predominantly still Rolex driven. Let's
Hmm.
see how it go. to really get something new. I am itching to get something new. I'm itching to try a new experience as well and see how
Mhm.
it goes. I think as regular watch enthusiasts, especially when you are in the same state of collection for several years, it is normal to want to try something new, to spice things up a little bit, and also sometimes taste change, right? So it's actually normal for that to happen as well. Yeah.
I think that's what people need to realize. Like, there's always this stigma, oh, you're selling your watches, and oh, you don't love this. And I've got hate as well with selling
Mm,
cards.
mm,
I get all these random messages. But at the end of the day, like, tastes do change, and you can't own everything forever. Especially in this hobby, it's expensive. You can't just keep buying, buying, buying. There's a point where you have to look at, well, first of all, financially, but also, why are we holding all of these watches? Like, what, they sit in the bank vault or in a safe, or they sit in a box in the cupboard somewhere. You never wear it. Like, I think I've now got to a point where, yes, there's some watches that are very sentimental, but apart from those, like, maybe right now I love it and I love wearing it, but what if 5, 10 years down the track? I think the whole forever watch, it doesn't really exist because things change all the time.
very
And I
true.
don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you love a watch and you wear a watch, but then you fall out of love with it, like, it's your possession. You should be able to move it on or trade it or give it away or something.
Hmm.
But there's still that stigma a bit in the watch industry where
Hmm.
you shouldn't be saying you have to keep a watch forever.
No,
But I'm gonna
I mean,
just segue that to James, and I'm getting to you, James, because I know you have this really big challenge as well, because you attach sentimentality to a watch, right?
Mm.
And then you struggle to sell it as well. So how do you think about that? What Nick just said.
I am actually trying to. I mean, we have this conversation, right? You and Woody and I. For maybe 2 3 months ago, I was quite close to consolidating my collection, right? But it is very tough. But like Woody mentioned as well, I associate every like anniversary or like special dates or celebrations to each of my watches. Like I thought it'd be cool, but now it actually makes things really difficult. But I do believe I do see a future where one day I could eventually let go, and
Yep.
it must happen, right? Because otherwise, I firmly believe that I will not be able to enjoy other pieces if I don't, right? As what Nick mentioned, is financially just not possible because how I manage my watch purchases that I allocate like X percentage of my net worth to be able to purchase watches, and I cannot exceed that percentage. So the only way for me to get new watches is that either I let go or somehow my net worth just goes up exponentially, right? It's one or the other. I wish my network can grow faster than that. I wish, but unfortunately, it's not the case.
Mhm.
And yeah, so to be honest, at this moment, I do struggle, right? Because, like, for example, my Rolex, I got this. Oh, this is the Rolex I got when I was 30 years old. That's my first Tudor. I bought this my first Rolex, my first Switch watch, and stuff like that. But eventually, I think one thing Rudy mentioned is a really great point. And fortunately, as well as a watch photographer, um, there's enough documentations of the pieces that we have and enough memories that can be stored digitally
Mhm.
that it's moving on from this watch from our watches is actually a lot easier right now than it was back then, right? I think we're in a very fortunate space, Instagram being one of it, right? If you do miss it, you can always look back. That's where you document it and so on. So I firmly believe eventually I'll get to there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not there yet. I would say.
But but I know it's not. Say if you did, say if you sold, I don't know, your first Tudor or something.
Mm,
But these days as well, like, say if you really missed it, yes, it's not going to be the same watch, but
mm,
you can always buy it back again. Like, it's part of the game, unfortunately. I've bought back watches I've had before as well. Like, it's just, I think right now it's a perfect. I think right now when you're a bit undecided what to do, like, this is where maybe trying new things. This is what I did. I just went out and tried as many watches as possible. I went to
mm,
different watch events that I probably wouldn't have gone to before.
mm,
Tried on independent watches. I tried on vintage. I still can't get into vintage. It's still very much modern. But I tried on so many different things, and I got a bit more of a spark back. And that's when I said to myself I wanted to get into an independent piece. as well as trying on Moses. I was trying to learn Ferrier and stuff like that, and it got me a bit of a spark back.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I had to get rid of some watches, and I've only got one watch, guys. That's sort of my most sentimental. It's the watch I got married in as well. It's my Cartier tank, Louis Cartier. Um, and I did get a Batman for the watch that I wore during my wife's pregnancy. I took it to all of the baby's appointments and stuff, and I wore it when my baby was born.
Mm,
Apart from those two, like I've got watches that yes, I love having, but
mm.
if I needed to or wanted to, I could easily let them go. I
Fair
might
enough.
miss them again. Like my Submariner, I'm never letting that go, but
Yeah.
you can always replace those sort of
Yeah.
things. There's no sentiment attached to it.
Fair enough. I did had a thought about it as well. I think one thing that Woody mentioned as well in that fictional scenario, if I have to get rid of everything, which one would I keep?
Mm.
It would be my Speedmaster, right? Because that, to
Okay.
me, that is the one that started everything, and
Hmm.
everything else. Yes, I do attach sentimental of it, uh, but they all can be replaced, like, in a way. Oh, another one that cannot is the watch I get married in as well, because that is engraved with my wedding date, and I can't sell it. Nobody will want to buy it unless your name is James and Maria, and you did get married in November, 12th of November 2022 as well. All right, unless your wedding date and name is the same, you can't buy that watch. So that those two
And
are
I'm
staying.
pretty
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you might not be married anymore if you got rid of that watch and your wife found out as well. So
Or
Fair enough.
there's the alternate reality where you become the next Paul Newman and someone will want your watch anyway at
yes,
auction.
That
multi-million.
engraved one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. All right, I think this is a perfect segue to move on to our next topic, right? I think which we covered a little bit of it, but I think a lot of audience would want to know, right, what happened to Cartier watch. Now, you briefly mentioned
Mhm.
about it in terms of the taste change and you want to try to experiment with
Yeah.
different watch, but give us the full details, right? What happened?